An old steam pond launch in poor condition, part 14. The larger gas canisters that I normally use in model steamboats of this size were too big to fit in the bow, so I bought the next size down, which fits perfectly. I need to make a special shaped shelf to fit in the bow to hold the canister. This shelf is held in place using both epoxy resin and milliput epoxy putty. After this, I fit the engine in the boat and connect the propeller shaft. As I've mentioned a couple of times before, this is a pond launch. It was never designed for radio control, so the way that the superstructure fits was unimportant. But now I need to put a gas tank under the front like this, as well as fit a complete radio control system to operate the rudder, the emergency gas cut-off valve, and the regulator for the steam engine. The first thing I need to make is a stable platform for the gas tank. An easy method of doing this is to first of all make a card template. And once the card template has been trimmed several times to fit into the bow of the boat, then you just transfer the dimensions to a piece of wood. And once the piece of wood is cut out on the bandsaw, it will fit perfectly in the bow of the boat. This is my absolutely ancient Burgess bandsaw, and it's fitted with a 1/4 inch metal cutting blade. I use this bandsaw to cut many things in the workshop: copper pipe, brass bar, brass sheet, steel sheet, not stainless steel though, that will blunt the blade. And it's also very good for cutting 4mm plywood. Once a piece of plywood has been cut to the correct shape, I chamfer both of the edges using my belt sander to make the piece of plywood match the internal contour of the bow. And the next thing I need to do is lay this piece of wood on another piece of plywood, draw around it and cut that out, but I don't need to chamfer the edges this time. You may have noticed that I'm not doing much measuring, in fact none at all. It's a bit pointless because the internal contours of the bow, with this boat being hand carved from a piece of tree, is not exactly even at both sides. That's why I always make a card template for these sort of jobs. The next job is to cut a hole in the top piece of plywood. It's important that this hole is not a tight fit around the gas tank, but luckily with the thickness of the pencil line and cutting to the outside edge, it's a perfect fit, a nice loose fit. So I cover the first part in cyanoacrylate adhesive and I stick the second part to it. A quick test with the gas tank verifies that the hole in the top piece of plywood is exactly right. So the gas tank fits into the shelf okay. It's time now to fit the shelf into the boat. I just want to make sure that the shelf isn't fitted too high and that it's easy to remove and fit the gas tank in the recess. And once I can confirm that everything fits, it's time to bond the shelf in place permanently. And for this initial bonding, I'm using some 5-minute epoxy resin. This is amazing stuff. It's a 2-pack mix. You mix it together, stir it thoroughly, put it in place and wait 5 minutes and you get a really solid bond. But what I'm doing first is coating the underside of the piece of plywood to waterproof it. This is most important with model boats, to make sure that any wood components are fully waterproofed, either by using paint or in this case a layer of epoxy resin, which is possibly better than paint as a waterproofing agent. Once this first application of epoxy resin has cured and the shelf is solid in the bow of the boat, it's time to apply some more epoxy resin. The reason that I didn't put lots of it on in the first place is because it just runs down and pools at the bottom of the boat. So I put one layer of epoxy on to stick the shelf to the boat and a second one to seal the joint. This is milliput, it's an epoxy putty, and I had some of this left over from a previous job. And rather than just sit it on the shelf and watch it go hard and become unusable, I thought I would put it into service on this job. I mix it together between my hands for several minutes, and the resultant mixture I split into two. Then I use a piece of wood to get 2 neat lines, which are then pressed firmly into place down each side of the shelf in the bow of the boat. A very useful feature of milliput is that it's water soluble, so once you've applied the milliput, you can then smooth it out just by using some water on your finger. I've shown this before in several videos. Finally, here are the 2 pieces of milliput ready to fit to the shelf. So the shelf sits underneath the bow of the boat, the gas canister fits on the shelf, and there's room underneath the shelf to put some lead ballast, because once again this boat will need plenty of ballast. If you've been watching this series from the beginning, you will know why the engine is mounted to these 2 rough pieces of wood. You will notice that the engine has gone, and it's going back in the boat. What I'm doing first though is like a mock-up, just to make sure things fit and that it's going to be mechanically successful. Fitted between the engine and the propeller shaft is a flexible coupling, so I'm going to reuse this as there's nothing wrong with it, so if it's not broken I don't fix it. The only thing I don't like is that at one end someone has drilled and tapped it to take a grub screw which nips onto the main screw thread of the prop shaft. I personally do not like the idea of a grub screw biting against the thread of a major component like the propeller shaft. So I'm going to alter this. I'm going to take this grub screw out and use a lock nut. Pretty much like the one at the flywheel end. In this clip I'm just checking that there is room for a lock nut at the propeller shaft end. And the good news is, yes, there's plenty of room. As I move the engine towards the bow of the boat, it is now perfectly aligned with the original mounting holes in the hull. When I looked at the thread on the 3/16 diameter propeller shaft, I automatically presumed it to be 2BA, but it's not. I tried all sorts of different combinations of imperial threads that work on a 3/16 shaft. So after trying quite a few options, none of which worked, I finally figured out that it was M5. And the thing is, I would never expect this on a boat of this age. Metric, but yes, it's an M5 thread. So it was an easy job to make a nut for it and thread it M5, because I do have a box of metric taps. In this clip I'm double checking that the engine is accurately positioned over the mounting holes in the hull. The engine was originally held in place with some countersunk screws. You can see one of them on the bench. I automatically assumed that the 4 countersunk wood screws were this length for a reason, and I didn't want to go any longer in case when I tightened up longer screws they came out of the bottom of the hull. In the workshop I have a tin full of these really nice domed head brass screws, so I just shortened these. I nipped off the end of them, then ground them back to a point on the bench grinder, and they fitted perfectly. You will notice that before screwing the engine back into the hull, I fitted the eccentric that drives the water pump. I'm really not sure what to do with this. It was originally disconnected, but for the moment I'm connecting it up to the engine's crankshaft. Time to test the engine. I just connected some compressed air to it and flicked the flywheel over top dead centre, and off it went. You will notice that I've also connected a piece of silicone rubber tubing to the exhaust pipe, because I didn't want the hull to get contaminated with oil from the exhaust. And instead it's currently contaminating the left hand side of my shirt. The engine runs surprisingly well in the boat, and it's running quite fast now. As you can see, everything's a blur. Nothing's dropped off, and the alignment's good. The engine seems to make a very good noise, and as this is an African Queen type boat, it doesn't want to be silent. You need to hear a little bit of a rattle, just for that authentic African Queen flavour. In this clip I'm having a look at the propeller spinning. The tone of the engine tells me that there is no excessive friction, and the propeller gives quite a good blast of air, which is always a good sign. Once the boat is in the water, of course, the propeller will automatically go much slower and the engine will work harder. Near the end of this series I will float this model boat in a bath that I have in the garden, because it's very buoyant and I will need to add considerable ballast. I think I'm going to pipe up this water pump to the boiler, just for old time's sake. Most of the time the bypass valve will be open, but at least it could potentially be used. With the engine and boiler, including the water pump, all in position, I can now pipe them together. I have to fit a displacement lubricator and a regulator, and not forgetting the exhaust condenser. I need to make a special condenser for this boat, and also the boat's going to need a lot of ballast, particularly at the front. I'm temporarily fitting the stern superstructure so I can have a look and see how much room is inside the boat. Not much. But the good news is the rudder is very free moving. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.